Great, this is the last lesson, the last video lesson, at least for now. If we are going back to school when we're supposed to, I don't know, we'll see. But for now, this should be the last video lesson, and then after this, you're just going to practice everything stuckend, okay, until you've got it 100%. So we are looking at substitution. This is not brand new, we did see it already, but anyway, substitution is when you remove one thing and you replace it with something else. So I'm sure you've all heard the word substitution before when you talk about, or when you watch sport, or if you play sport, then if you are pulled off the field and somebody else is put in your place, that is called a substitution. They subbed you out and they subbed somebody else in. So that is the same thing that we do with maths, okay? We take one thing out and we put something else in its place where it's going to take on the same role as the previous thing. So if you are playing center forward and you are substituted out, whoever goes in your place will also be playing center forward, okay? Now we have seen this in analyzing expressions already, okay? So we saw it on like a baby scale when we were doing analyzing expressions. So remember, that's the one where they would give you an expression like 3x cubed plus 2x squared minus x plus 4, and they'd ask you a bunch of questions about it, like how many terms are there, what is the degree, what's the coefficient of x squared, what's the constant term, that sort of thing. And then usually the last question would be something like, if x equals 4, determine the value of the expression. Okay, and then remember the way that we dealt with this was we substituted x for 4. So they've told us that x is 4. We're taking x out and we're putting 4 in its place. And very important here, we used brackets. Okay, guys, if you do not substitute in with brackets, I'm not even going to look at your answer. It's 0 immediately. No marks. If you don't use brackets, you don't get any marks. Okay. So the way we're going to go ahead and do this is everywhere we see an x, we're replacing the x with the number 4 in brackets. So we're going 3, and instead of x, we're putting a 4 in brackets. Okay, so it's 3 and then 4 in brackets, cubed. Notice my cubed goes outside the brackets. Okay, plus, sorry, I'm losing my mind with the colors here, plus 2 times. Instead of the x, we put a 4 in brackets and then the squared on the outside. Minus, instead of the x, we put a 4 in brackets and then plus 4. So everywhere where there was an x, we put a 4 instead. And then when we're done with that, we work this out, remembering bed mass. Okay? So first we calculate anything inside the brackets. Now if I look inside my brackets, I only have single numbers, so there's nothing to do inside the brackets. Then I do my exponents, okay? So I first cube the 4 before I times it by 3. I first square this 4 before I times it by 2, okay? My exponents happen next. So this is going to become 3 times 4 cubed means 4 times 4 times 4 again, which you should know is 64, plus 2 times 4 squared is 16, minus 4 plus 4. Next up is division. There is no division. Next up is multiplication. I've got quite a lot of multiplication. I need to times 3 by 64. Wait, I need a calculator for this one, don't judge me. 3 times 64, which is 128, plus 2 times 16 is 32, minus times positive 4, and negative times a positive is negative 4, and then plus 4. And last up, we can do addition and subtraction all in a straight row, which is 128 plus 32 minus 4 plus 4, which gets us to a final answer of 160. Okay, so we've seen it look like this before. This is not new. But what we're going to see now is we're going to see it in a larger scale. Okay, so this was baby substitution. You've seen it before. Now we're going to see what it looks like when we've got it in real terms. Okay, so proper grade 8 substitution. And for this, there's only 2 steps. It's the same 2 steps as we did there. We first, let's not use red, we first replace, and now for this, they're not going to just have x. They're going to have like 3 or 4 or 5 variables, and they'll tell you the value of all of them. So we first replace all of the variables with their correct values. Okay, so we replace all variables with their values. Okay, and I'm going to write here again. I wish I could highlight on a board because I would if I could, but remember to use brackets, please. No brackets, no marks. You replace it in brackets. When you've done that, then the next thing you do is you use BEDMAS or BODMAS to simplify the expression, okay, to get the answer. Okay, so the example I'm going to do with you is, I don't have your thing up, so I'm going to do a different example to the one that's on the page. But, okay, so let's say they tell you that, they'll say if, and then they'll give you the values for the letters. So let's say if A is equal to 3, B is equal to -2, and C is equal to, what should we do? -6. Determine the value of and then they'll give you a few expressions in terms of A, B, and C. In terms of A, B, and C just means that the expressions will have A, B, and C in them. Okay, that's what in terms of means. It just means that the expressions will have the letters A, B, and C in them. Okay, so the first one, let's just do A, B, C. Okay, so that A, B, C, remember when you have letters written right next to each other like that, it actually means times. That means A times B times C, which is, you'll see now, why it's so important to include the brackets when you substitute. Okay, so let's go and do our substitution. Where we see an A, instead of A, we're putting brackets, and with the value that A is. A is 3, so we put 3 in brackets instead of the A. Moving on to the B, instead of B, we're putting brackets, and in the place of B, the value for B, which is -2. And then lastly, C, instead of C, we put brackets, and instead of C, we're putting the value for C, which is -6. Now here we can clearly see that this means 3 times -2 times -6, which is what this means, A times B times C. Okay, and we work this out using BEDMAS, but this is all the same operation. It's all multiplication, so we can just go left to right. So we've got 3 times -2, which is -6, times -6, which is +36. Okay. Question 2. Let's do, what should we do? Let's do A plus B squared divided by C. Oh, 6 and 9, it's not going to be a nice one. Okay, divided by, okay, let's do 2A plus B squared divided by C. Okay, so we write out this expression exactly as it is, but instead of the letters, we're going to put brackets with that specific letter's value. Okay, so you see I've written it exactly the same, except everywhere I see a letter, I put brackets instead. Now, where I had A in those brackets, I must put the value for A, which was 3. Where I had B, I must put the value for B, which was -2. And where I had C, I must put the value for C, which is -6. Okay, now I'm going to use BEDMAS. I'm going to write it up on the side here so I can refer to it. I'm going to use BEDMAS to help me simplify this. So, first off, what's inside the brackets? Okay, there's nothing to do inside the brackets. So I move on to the next one, E exponents. Okay, I first square my -2 before I add it to that. So this expression becomes 2 times 3, -2 squared is +4. So I'm adding +4, which is just +4 over -6. Okay, so I've done my exponents. Next is division. Now this is always the tricky part. Technically, I should divide that by -6 now, but this is still 2 terms. So first, I actually have to turn this into a single term before I can do division. Okay, multiplication is next. Here I have multiplication of 2 times 3. So I've got 6 plus 4 at the top, and at the bottom, it doesn't look like multiplication, but remember I've got a positive 1 in front of this bracket. there's always positive goes to 1s in front of brackets. So I'm going to multiply. Positive 1 times negative 6 is negative 6. Next up, addition. So I can add my 6 plus 4. I get 10 over negative 6. And lastly would be subtraction. I don't have any subtraction to do. Now at this point, I'm left with a fraction as an answer. Whenever you have a fraction as an answer, you simplify it. Okay, so I've got a positive over a negative. That's a negative answer. And 10 over 6, we ask ourselves, what can go into both? 2, okay? 2 goes into 10 5 times, and 2 goes into 6 3 times. So my answer for this is negative 5 over 3. Okay, I'm going to do one more example with you. This is really quite straightforward. The only thing that's tricky here, or the only thing that's sort of new here, is the replacing of the letters with their value in brackets. And then from here, this is just like what we did at the very, very beginning of school this year. It's just using BODMAS or BEDMAS to work something out. Okay, so the third example we're going to do is we're going to do, let's do a square root one, and we're going to do, it's what's going to work nicely here. Sorry, bear with me. Okay, let me actually just pause you while I figure this out so I don't waste your time. Okay guys, here's your last one. It's a bit of a scary looking one. So we've got the square root of negative 2c minus a plus 10b. Okay, so what do? We rewrite the expression, but everywhere where we had a letter, instead of the letter, we're putting brackets. So it's negative 2 brackets minus, instead of a, brackets, plus 10 instead of b, brackets, and then we close that original bracket. Okay, now we're going to, in the place of each of the letters, we're going to put the value of that letter. So c, the value for c must go there, and the value for c is negative 6. Then the value for a is 3. And then the value for b is negative 2. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this question, remembering to use BEDMAS. Okay, so I'm going to write BEDMAS here again. Okay, so firstly, what's inside the brackets? So that's telling me I need to do what is inside these brackets first, but inside those brackets, I have a whole expression to do. Okay, so I'm going to do that first. Exponents next, I've got no exponents. Division next, I've got no division. Multiplication, I do have. Okay, so we're going for, we write down everything we haven't dealt with yet. Okay, 2 times negative 6 is negative 12. Negative times positive 3 is negative 3. Positive 10 times negative 2 is negative 20. Okay, then addition and subtraction inside those brackets. We're going to have equals square root of negative. Negative 12 minus 3 is negative 15. Minus 20 is negative 35. Oh, I made a mistake. Sorry guys, I made a mistake in the question. That should be a 5. I'm sorry. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly fix it. That should have been a 5. So it's 5 there. 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. Sorry, I wanted it to be 10. Okay, let's carry on. Negative 12 minus 3 is negative 15. Minus 10 is negative 25. Okay, now we can multiply that negative by that negative 25, and we get the square root of positive 25, which when we square root, we get 5. Okay, sorry about that last little bit with the mistake. Hopefully it still makes sense. But yeah, like I said, same thing every time. You replace the variable with its value in brackets, and then you use BEDMAS or BODMAS to simplify your answer. That's it, every time. Okay, I'm going to leave you there. This hopefully should be our last lesson on YouTube. Hopefully I get to see all your faces very soon, and hopefully you've understood what's been going on during the lockdown. If you are a little bit confused, if you are a little bit left behind, maybe you were not working as hard as you should have been and you didn't do your work every day, please don't panic. We will fix it. Okay, obviously that doesn't mean I'm giving you a get out of jail free card. If you've not been doing your work, I'm not happy with you. but at the same time, I do understand that there are circumstances that make it difficult for us to do the work that we're supposed to be doing. Okay, anyway, try out that worksheet. Let me know if you get stuck, please.